We're here today to talk a little bit about how we build games and especially how we operate the games once they are live and how we get them from a small level of success to a bigger and bigger level of success. So I'm Daniel, I'm co-CEO, and I'm here with Oliver, our CTO. And we are Fluffy Fairy Games. A little bit history about us and who we are. So we founded the company in 2016. And we're like a little bit more than 2 years old now. And for us, it's all about like building idle games, building games that we believe are in a new kind of subgenre where like the existing idle games are very good, but we really want to like build something on top of it and become the genre leader and the most successful idle games company. We grew to like 60 people right now, and we just released our second game, Idle Factory Tycoon, which is also on its way to success. And together with Idle Miner Tycoon and Idle Factory Tycoon, we are at more than 40 million downloads and more than 10 million monthly active users. So, how do we build games? The first important thing to understand and to really accept is that games are usually hit-driven. This means that the chance that if you build a game that it will not be successful are very high. And we found a way to basically work with that, because for us as a young company, when we started in our like student apartment, we didn't have any money to build a game for 1 or 2 years. We didn't really have like the team to build a big game. So for us, we decided from the beginning to really start small, to figure out like as fast as possible if the game has any chance on the market to survive, or if we should rather do like another game. So our process, of course, first we start, like we have a very small team. It's usually one product manager, one game designer, one developer, and one artist. And the reason why that game team is so small in the beginning is so that we can really focus on like getting things done instead of like figuring out the team structure and working a lot with like communication and administration. And I believe to find the core loop of the game, it is not really necessary to have a bigger team than that. The bigger team comes into play later when you actually found your game and then start to implement all the additional features and content. So of course, like for us, games are very much about the core mechanic. It's about building the minimum product, which is only focused on mechanic in the beginning to make sure it has a high retention and it's fun for the players. We first find a concept for that, then we actually like build the game, the prototype for it, let the prototype play by everybody internally in the company to see like if it's actually fun, if our own people get hooked on it or not. And then we're, of course, like starting to fix bugs. After that internal testing, which takes 8 weeks in total, we are ready to release the game on the market or on test markets, of course. So the minimum viable game is usually like this until then. As you can see, like on the very left, it's just boxes. And for us, our goal is to build a game with just boxes that is actually fun. So where you can like play it, compete with others, and where you have like the mechanic only at its core, obviously, but still enjoy playing it. Then we add rough graphic concepts. It's just about like getting a feeling for the game, getting a feeling for the theme. We iterate on the graphics, we test the gameplay, we implement or improve balancing. So that's like where it starts to feel and look like a proper game. And then, of course, like in the end, it's very much about UX, about building a streamlined experience in the beginning to actually like get a high day one retention and to make sure that people really understand the core mechanics of the game. Because in the very first screenshot, of course, we understand like what the core is about because we found the concept, but nobody will understand how the game works like that. And actually, the most important thing, and at the same time the hardest thing, there is to say no to a lot of things. Of course, like if you start the game, you have so many ideas, you play the game, you know there are like 20 or 30 things that you can do better in the game where you are sure that it will increase retention, it will increase monetization. But in the end, if you say yes to everything, then you will not be able to release the game on the test markets in those 8 weeks. And for us, this means, for example, like there's no cloud save in the first version because cloud save is something that doesn't influence core loop. So you will not create a better core loop with cloud save, but at the same time, like it takes a lot of power. Same with social features. For us, the social features are not in the core because our core is about progression, and adding them will for sure increase retention, but also take longer. There's no localization, no in-app purchases in the first version, and this is also important for us because, like, I think the general industry thinking is like you will release the game without in-app purchases, so you will lose out on revenue because you get many users. You might even buy users with marketing in your soft launch, and you will not monetize them. And we made that compromise to do this because we are able to learn faster if the game actually works. Because those 2 or 3 weeks we save on building like a shop, in-app purchases, economy for premium currency are just safe with that. And same for ad mediation, and of course long-term retention. So once we are on the test market, we really want to know if the core gameplay loop works. And to see this, we measure day 1 retention, because we think that day 1 retention is a very good indicator. Like, do people really want to come back to that kind of game you built? Of course, to have like more long-term retention, you need to have more content, you need to have social, you need to have deeper engagement. But with all of those things, I think you will not increase your day 1 retention. So if the day 1 retention is bad, and bad means for us like, and in the idle genre it's typically higher, and for us like bad is everything like below 50%, then we think it's not worth it to follow up with the game. Then we would kill it and start from the beginning. Another interesting thing for us is to measure organic downloads. So we think that if you get a lot of organic downloads, it kind of means that you found a market where people want to have more games because they're obviously looking for it. And of course, like rating and user feedback is also important because you can learn a lot from it. And if nobody likes the game, it will probably be not successful. So how do you measure core mechanic? And we think that for us, core mechanic is all about retention. There might be other measurements in other kind of approaches where we focus more on ARPDAU or LTV. For us, it's just do people actually come back on their own on the next day. And with Idle Miner Tycoon and Idle Factory Tycoon, it worked out pretty well. So both are at 75% retention. And when we hit this number with both games, we knew that this game has the potential to become successful. And of course, like as I said, like in the beginning, we didn't have in-app purchases, we didn't really have proper ad mediation, so we didn't earn any money with the game. But then we knew that it's worth it to actually invest into the game, to build up the team, to hire people, because we knew that we will earn money down the road at some point. So the risk of like the hit-driven business was basically gone then. And then, of course, like after the 4 weeks are over, we need to see like if the game is successful enough, if it has the potential, and then we scale the team. And scaling the team means adding more people to the team, doing all the things where we said no in the beginning, because all those things are actually user and revenue drivers. So then it starts to become like a real business where you try to invest less than you earn, of course, and where you then scale. And like here, the track is called, I think, Live Ops something. So then it really becomes about Live Ops. How do you take this game that has like a revenue of 1K per day or something and a few thousand downloads per day to a level where it can compete with the biggest or the very big titles in the world? So, and this part Oliver will take.
Thanks. All right. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about how we're going on when we're releasing a game. So basically we do this by weekly updates. So Idle Miner Tycoon was released like in July 2016, so it's almost 2 years ago. And since then we already made like over 90 updates on the game. So we were adding more features, polishing it, and going on with the whole game. And this basically helped us to add features in a very fast way, to embrace change very fast, and get the feedback back into the game. And we never see our games as done, so we think like we can always add more value to the games and work on the games, and we call this approach games as a service. So we have this update policy that we have like one update, which equals like one development sprint, and this one sprint is basically taking like 1 week. In this 1 week, we do everything for a new update, so planning, developing, and testing. Yeah. So here a little bit about the process. So actually, the game designers are working a little ahead of the development team, so they are thinking about new features, preparing design documents, balancing sheets, and think of edge cases so that the development team in the end isn't blocked anymore. After that, they go work together with the game art team to actually prepare the needed assets for a new feature. So then actually the games or the development sprint starts. So our game developers are actually starting to develop the features, and by then they shouldn't be blocked by any other team. So the game designers and the game art team really need to prepare those things so that the game design can fully focus on the game team or the development team can fully focus on developing the features. At the same time, also the QA team starts. So basically, we don't want to have like a long test session at the end of the sprint or of the update, because then it would oftentimes prolong the sprint if we find critical bugs or those kind of things like in the very end. So for us, it's important that we find bugs early, and this can be done by testing sub features or already done features in a very early stage. This is all supported by our continuous integration platform. So we have like built a pipeline where actually a developer, when he does a change and push it or uploads it to our version control system, in our case it's Git, the CI platform basically triggers a build, and this is all done automatically. So the developers don't have to do anything, but just do an update on our version control system. So we're using Jenkins for that, which is, I guess, a quite popular tool for CI. We're quite happy with that. Once a build is done, it gets automatically deployed to our test devices. So basically, QA can grab a test device, download the right version they want to test, and don't have to wait for a build from the development team. So they're completely, can do this on their own. Also, the developers on their own, if they develop a new feature which they want to test, they can just grab a device and don't have to wait or get blocked by anything. So if a new update is tested well and we think it's good to release, also our CI platform uploads the builds to the Play and App Store automatically. And from there on, the product managers only need to do one more click to put it on the staged rollout. So with every update, we do a staged rollout. This basically means that the app just gets distributed to a certain amount of players. So we always start with like 1% to make sure that there are not like very critical bugs or crashes in the game. And so we look for those kind of things in our reporting tools. We increase it on day 2 to 5%, still looking for that mainly. And on day 3, if everything goes fine, release it to 20%. From then on, we are pretty sure that there are not like very critical bugs, but then we want to focus more on the user feedback. So we want to know if the new update gets liked by the users, if they enjoy the new update, is there anything which we missed maybe or didn't think of, or are there some bugs which we couldn't find from our reporting tools? So we try to get like a lot of feedback and engage with the players. So on day 4, we release it then on both platforms. So we always start a stage rollout on Android, and on iOS we basically release it then fully. So after we release an update, we still look out for player feedback and really try to engage with those players. So we want to really connect to the players and be player-centric. This basically means that we do Facebook posts to try to engage with those players. We answering mails or write with the players on Discord, for example, and we have certain other channels as well. So we really want to get like valuable information out of the users and feedback, which we then can integrate fast into the game again. So the users really loved this kind of thing because they can write us an idea, and if you think that's a good idea, we can get it back in the game like very fast. So users really love this, and therefore we also have like a pretty good rating of like 4.8 in average on both platforms like Google Play and App Store. Yeah, I also want to show you like one slide from our community managers. So our community managers doing weekly presentations for each game. So they basically tell the game teams like what's the mood in the community, what are the ideas and wishes, and they try to categorize all this feedback they are getting and also to quantize it. So basically then we can decide like what is the most important things for the users right now, where should we focus, and where can we focus next. So I also want to present you a little timeline of like features we've added in the past and how they impacted our KPIs. So at the very beginning, we only had like a very minimum product. So there was not a lot of content. As Daniel said, we only focused on the early day retention. But of course, if users get to the content very fast, they're screaming for more. And yeah, basically that's why we decided at the beginning to work more on the content side, to provide more meta features, so that the game is actually fun in the long term as well. At some point, we also added in-app purchases. This was also a requested feature by the users. So some users wanted to support us, some wanted to speed up their game by paying, and therefore we decided to get on this in-app purchases, which of course also increased our revenue. Or some users from different countries or around the world, of course, want to play their game in their own language. So we got like really a lot of requests. Hey, can you localize this game, translate it? And that's actually what we did. And right now, we guess we have like over 20 languages, and we also localized the screenshots in the stores and the App Store texts, and therefore we also got more downloads from that. Yeah. At a certain point, we decided to go more into these live op events. So basically, we have an event mine which is only available for a certain time frame, and the users have to complete like certain obstacles to get rewards or badges. So users get really engaged during that time because they really want to complete all the obstacles. And at the same time, we are also offering certain offers there for a limited time, so also the revenue goes up. So retention goes up because users get more engaged, and the revenue because we are offering time-limited offers. Then we also focused more on social features, which is also more engaging for the players, and also they try to get their friends into the game, which also means like free downloads for us. And of course, there's more planned this year, and so keep updated about that. Last but not least, I also want to talk a little bit about our tech stack and how it evolved over time. So basically, we started with a minimum product. There was not much tech in it. We thought we need at least some basic analytics, some KPIs to measure, for example, the run retention, and also crash reporting, because we want to have a high-quality game. So we went with Fabric, which offers Crashlytics, as well as Answers, which is a basic analytics tool. Then we enter the growth stage, where we basically add all those features which a lot of other games also have. Like, for example, in-app purchase validation, ad mediation, cloud save. And therefore, we used PlayFab a lot, as well as OneSignal for push notifications and IronSource for ad mediation. So at a certain point, we also started with marketing. So in the beginning, it was more like organic growth. but marketing got important for us as well. Therefore, we needed to integrate some attribution provider. We used AppsFlyer for that. And yeah, next we did like live ops events, which we also could do with PlayFab, and go more into the social side with GetSocial. So they provide like easy mechanics to invite friends, and this works quite well for us. So right now we are focusing more on the data, so we want to understand the user behavior, and therefore we try to build up our own data platform in the Microsoft Azure cloud, and also go more into personalizing the content for the users. So for example, looking at dynamic pricing or targeting each user with a different offer. We also do this with machine learning. Yeah.